Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. And today we are taking a look at the NFL draft as it stands today. I know that this is normally the stock up episode, and we'll get to some stock market movement. Don't worry. We'll get to that at the end of the show. But what we wanted to do, this is Connor's idea, and I thought it was brilliant. Let's take a look at the NFL draft order as it stands today. We also have a great tool over at pff.com to look at projections of where teams are going to finish, how many wins they're going to get, which of course means where they're going to pick in the draft order. Connor, I'm excited about this one, man. I'm juiced up for it. Not only do we get to talk prospects, but we get to talk a little bit about what's going to happen at the very top of the draft at the end of the season, man. So this is a great idea on you. Big kudos. This is going to be a fun show.
Thanks, dude. I think it's a good State of the Union time. I find myself sometimes getting so wrapped up in players and evaluations that you forget of the drama that factors so much into this, that is who is making the picks at the top of the draft. And, you know, we're sitting here at the end of October where there's kind of a picture to be painted. I know things could certainly change, but when you look at the actual draft order, that tells you one thing. But like you said, when you look at PFF's average wins based on projections, that might tell you some other things. So it's a good time to do that. And as always, we each have a couple players to get into from the weekend. But this draft is going to be fascinating because of the quarterback power and defensive star talent at the top. And there's some clear contenders for who could be in the mix for those guys.
There really are. You know, I also want to do this at the very top of the show. You know, Connor, we're so go during the season that we didn't even recognize our 100th episode, which was like 3 episodes ago at this point.
We missed it by like a lot.
We totally missed it. And I just wanted to say to you guys out there listening, holy cow, time has flown by. I hope it's flown by for you guys as well because of how much fun we have been having on this podcast. This is something that I'm not sitting here waiting for milestones. I'm just waiting for the next podcast, man. This is a blast for me to do. It's an honor to do it with one of my good friends in the business. And I think that hopefully that comes out in some great content, some great conversations with you guys. We've had the chance to connect with a lot of you over these last 102, 103 episodes, whatever it is now. So just wanted to say off the top of the show, I appreciate y'all so much. Embracing yet another draft podcast as if there aren't a million of them already. And this has been a lot of fun for me and a lot of fun for Connor to do. And it's you guys who make that possible. So just wanted to say thank you so much for listening to the 100 episodes. Here's to a lot of 100 more.
Well said, man. I second all of that. Thanks for picking me as a co-host, first off. And it's been a blast. I love doing this show. I feel like it's the one time of the week that you can kind of take a breath and look at a lot of things that you just get lost in the shuffle over the weekend or throughout the week. And I know you and we've talked about this a lot. We're really excited even for after the season because the draft season that we had in our first year of doing this show was incredible. We can't wait to see what this year brings. And it's been a lot of fun. And the community aspect to me is what's blown my mind the most. The people that are so involved or talk to each other or react to the show or comment on YouTube or leave us a review. And I've had a couple people message me on social media asking, can we do a Twitter community or a Discord? And those are things that we're always thinking of and trying to discuss. And maybe when we get closer to the draft, we'll find a way to create an even better community aspect as well.
Yeah, we do need to. We need to look into Discord. We need to look into Discord.
It would be a wild ride.
Right. I feel like that's the next step of the podcast. Also, can we give a shout out to one listener specifically? Nicole Antonio, you are unbelievable. You guys see that? If you're watching on YouTube, you could see the custom cup that Connor got. I have it as well. I don't have it within reaching distance, but she sent Connor and I a care package, and we just, oh man, it just means the world. Thank you so much for not only listening to the podcast, her and Joshua, who recently got married. So obviously a big congrats to those two. I just blown away by it. There are a couple more things. There's actually a Christmas ornament, which if you watch this show, you know that behind me, I have these 2 tiny little Christmas trees that are right next to my TV. So this is very topical for the show. I'm going to put one of those Christmas ornaments right on one of those little Christmas trees.
And there's something else in there that I won't give away yet because I think we're going to use it on a surprise show at some point. I didn't even tell you this yet, but
okay.
I don't want to ruin the surprise, but
okay,
man, every man and woman has to have a cup, dude.
Oh, brother. You got to have a go-to cup.
You got to have a go-to cup.
I will say that men specifically.
Yeah, well, because we don't even wash them.
We have one cup. There's just one. We pick one cup in the house. It's normally a plastic cup. It's probably a plastic cup from like 6 years ago, and we make that our cup. And now I have a new go-to cup with our podcast, NFL Stock Exchange, on it. So I'm very excited for it.
Me too, man. I got a lot of comments on my previous tumbler that looked like a liquor shaker, and now I've graduated, thanks to Nicole, to the Stock Exchange tumbler as well. So
I'm over here. I currently have water in like an actual protein shaker
bottle.
Yeah. Just just doing real.
All right, what do you say?
Real man things out here. One cup, one shaker. That's all you need. All right. Before we embarrass ourselves with our dishes, our dish. I don't want. What do I say here? How we use dishes. How we go about dishes. Dish usage. Dish war.
Dish wins above replacement.
Before we get too much in the weeds with that, let's talk about this draft order, man. We are a full 7 weeks into the season, and I'll just read off the top 15. I'll go top 15 as it stands today. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and then we'll talk about what PFF is currently projecting for the draft order to potentially be when the regular season is all said and done. Detroit Lions. We had such high hopes, Connor. We had such high hopes for them. Season's not over. Yeah. Season's not done. But they're sitting here at 1-5. They're picking number 1 overall. We got Houston at number 2. Carolina, big win against the Buccaneers to get them out of number 1. They're sitting there at number 3. Crazy enough, man. Philly, Houston, Seattle. Those are 4, 5, and 6. All 3 of those teams they got from trades. Those are New Orleans picks, Cleveland's picks, and Denver's pick. That's crazy. We got Pittsburgh sitting at 7, Jacksonville's at 8, Las Vegas is at 9, Atlanta's at 10, Miami, because of their trade for San Francisco with the Trey Lance deal, they're sitting at 11. Got Arizona at 12, Patriots at 13, Chicago at 14, and then Washington sitting there with that number 15 overall pick. Connor, what stands out to you right now with the draft as it is today?
That a couple teams that were hoping to not be in this conversation are still there. It feels like their rebuilds are not going the exact direction. There's been good signs from both the Lions and Jacksonville, but we didn't want to see the Lions and Jacksonville in the top 10 here. And they have time to turn it around. The season's young. Now, when you look at PFF's average wins, they are projecting the Lions at 3rd in this draft and Jacksonville 4th. So it's not looking good right now. And once again, there's time, but Houston and Carolina, you can kind of see this coming with those teams. The one that fascinates me the most, Trevor, I'll say this in terms of like what could happen or what will be discussed. What if the Steelers are picking in the top 5 to 8 picks of this draft?
Yeah, what do they do, right? Because if you're picking top 5, then clearly your season has not gone the way that you have planned. I think they're encouraged by Kenny Pickett right now. Kenny Pickett has certainly given them a spark that Mitchell Trubisky did not. So right now, the fresh blood, if you will, the new face, the new arm in that offense is no question about it better than what we saw from the Steelers at the beginning of the season. But is it enough to not pick Bryce Young if you can? Is it enough to not pick CJ Stroud if you can? That's where we really get into a lot of debates that may feel, to me, if we get in a situation where Pittsburgh's picking in the top 5, it might be Steelers fans versus everybody, because Steelers fans might sit there and say, we're okay with Pickett. We could roll with Pickett. It's fine. And basically everyone else outside of Pittsburgh, all the other fan base in the NFL that casually just become draft fans are just going to say, you're out of your mind if you don't pick one of the quarterbacks. So
I totally see that as a potential thing that's happening. And I think I haven't made up my mind in the argument. Like, I want to see more of Kenny Pickett before deciding that, but
of course.
There's not a franchise offensive lineman that we've seen yet that's a no-brainer in the top 3 to 5 picks that you're looking at the Steelers and you're going, yeah, absolutely. On the flip side, as much as you'd like to see Detroit be better, Detroit picking 1 or 2, the good side of that is they would get their quarterback of the future, which this team was always going to need eventually.
I wonder if Dan Campbell's going to be the one to pick it, though, right?
Great question.
You know, I do think coaches sometimes get a really short end of the stick. There's a lot of coaches, well, and people are going to respond to this and be like, yo, coaching contracts are fully guaranteed. They're doing all right. And you're right. They're going to get paid anyways. It doesn't really matter in that aspect. But you look at Dan Campbell. They made this trade with Jared Goff for Jared Goff to be his quarterback over these last 2 years, with the vision in mind that at the end of year 2 of Goff's time with the Lions, they will then get to pick their franchise quarterback. Like, that is when it comes up for them. That timeline, Connor, is going according to plan.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they believe they look this bad.
It's the defense is a problem.
That's the big issue, right? And you can look at reasons why. You can certainly look at the Lions defense on paper and say to yourself, they don't have enough talent to win. And I would tell you, you know what? You're right. But dead last, like the way that they started the season, that stuff looks ugly. And that's the stuff that might be hard for him to overcome. I just wonder if the Lions get the number 1 overall pick, I'm with you. That feels like the best case scenario for them. And honestly, where their rebuild is going, how the timeline of their rebuild was first established. But will Dan Campbell get the luxury or get the commitment, I'll say, to finish that part of the rebuild, to get to that point of the winning window? I don't know. It's an impatient league, man. I just don't know.
I think ownership really likes him and believes in him. So I would lean yes, but it's a fair question. Now, when you're evaluating things right now, the Lions have the second easiest schedule remaining for the rest of the year per PFF's projections. Houston, on the other hand, has the 6th hardest schedule remaining. So when you're looking at this, Carolina's 25th hardest. So they play an easier schedule.
So easier, right.
Jacksonville 10th, though. So Houston and Jacksonville, their schedules are bad. You can sit there and go, man, Jacksonville should be better than what they are. But Houston, is it crazy to say the safest bet right now feels like Houston is walking out of night 1 of the 2023 draft with Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, or in a world where things get a little wild in these next couple of months, Will Levis?
Yeah. I mean,
that's it. We're down to that already.
Yeah, it's for as much as the conversation is there for who's picking number 1, we can argue a couple of different teams, but in terms of likelihood of a team picking in the top 3, I would agree with you that Houston has the highest odds for that. They're just not a high ceiling team. It goes back to the conversation that we had on the Monday podcast on What Matters Most. And when I talked about the Raiders versus the Texans, I said this on the show. Texans aren't bad. It's not like they're an extremely poorly coached football team. They're not catastrophic. They're just not talented. So unless you really blow it against the Texans, they just don't have the guys to be able to fight at that weight class, if you will, to be able to fight in that division. So I feel like you are right. It seems as though we are trending towards them being an absolute lock for one of these top quarterbacks, which, dude, is exactly what they need. That's exactly where they want to be. So it makes sense for them.
Who trades for Mac Jones instead of drafting a quarterback?
Whichever team
loses musical chairs in the draft
is screwed. And you know what the problem is that like Carolina can't afford to do this again. Carolina
No.
Carolina is in a spot where, I went on I went on a Carolina radio station on last Friday, and they jokingly asked me, is there any way that the Carolina Panthers can win against the Buccaneers? And I kind of laughed, obviously, at the time. I had no idea what was about to unfold. Didn't know PJ Walker was going to go God mode. Sorry, didn't predict it. Hats off to PJ. So I kind of said on the radio, I laughed, and I was like, they don't want to. If the Buccaneers win the game on Sunday, that is the ideal outcome for both teams. Carolina cannot be in a spot where they don't get a quarterback in this coming draft. They cannot be in that spot, because even if there is a decent option of a quarterback to trade for, next offseason, Carolina's not going to come close to touching it. So, man, as fun as this past week was with PJ Walker, Connor, Carolina better start losing some football games, man. They cannot get away from this top three. They have to be in the top three if they want to slingshot this rebuild the way that I think that they're hoping they can this offseason.
Don't let Deontay Foreman get hot, dude. Don't let him get hot. Ooh, buddy. Carolina.
Who is going to trade for Mac Jones?
I was like being a little serious. I know that's a red alert.
No, look, well, let's have the conversation. Who's trading for Mac Jones? Which one of these teams?
Atlanta?
Maybe, but why would they trade for Mac when they've got Desmond Ridder? You know,
because they didn't think Desmond Ridder was good enough to be taken in the first 2 rounds.
Well, that's very true.
I just try to think like a draft room where Washington is absolutely.
They're picking in the middle. Here. They're not, but that's probably what you want.
What is Mac Jones worth? Mac Jones isn't worth
not
a
top first. No, not a first.
It's this season is.
Is that crazy? I heard those words come out of my mouth. Mac Jones wouldn't fetch a first round pick, right?
I never say never with quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, that's why the second I said it, I was like, hold on, Trev. Did you just embarrass yourself on national YouTube television?
I know who the team is.
Who is it?
Maybe I walked this back. I don't think.
I know.
It's like the
you
meme
puffed your
of
chest out for that one. You were like, I know who this is.
Because it makes sense, but knowing Chris Ballard's evaluation, I don't think it does. It's not the Colts.
Oh, okay.
It can't be the Colts.
But I mean,
that's why it's the Bucks. Oh man.
Kyle Trask for Mac Jones straight up. Who says
straight
no?
up?
Who says no? Who says
I receive,
no?
You receive.
Shout out to Ryan, the GOAT producer, for that thumbnail.
You receive Kyle Trask. I receive Mac Jones. And a fifth.
You talking about the Colts, and we're gonna get every Colts fan to turn off the podcast right now. But you bringing up the Colts is truly that meme of that woman who's just like, who tries, I don't remember what she tries, but she tries the drink. She's like, no. No, absolutely not. Well, it's they might be in this situation where, because for as bad as the Colts season is, what are they? 3-3-1? They're 3-3-1.
That and the PFF projections have them picking 16th.
So no man's land.
That's why I said it. I'm like, the Colts aren't going to be bad enough to get one of the top 3 quarterbacks. No way.
At that point, you got to pray Anthony Richardson declares. And everybody's too scared to take him until you get to 16, and it doesn't matter for you.
I can't wait for the chaos that is this quarterback class.
You know what is wild? Where are we in projected wins for the Saints? Oh, dude, they're 6th.
6th.
Brother, the Eagles have this pick.
I know.
Howie Roseman is diabolical.
Yeah, he's a mad scientist now.
Howie Roseman is about to reunite Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis again if he gets the number 6 overall pick.
What if Will Anderson just falls into their lap? What if the Saints really stink it up the rest of the year?
I mean, that's the thing. If the Saints finish with a top 3 pick and the Eagles get Will Anderson,
it's not crazy. It's really not. And they need an edge rusher like that. They have a good defense, but when you look at it, you go, edge rusher for their future. Next 3 years, not next year. Next 3 years. I can't wait for the draft already. I love this. I forgot how much I love this because we haven't talked scenarios yet.
We really haven't. Houston right now is 2 top 5 picks because
which is great for them.
They have Cleveland, right, from the Deshaun Watson trade. They have Cleveland's first round pick. So they have the number 2 overall pick right now, and they have the number 5 overall pick. There is a non-zero chance that Houston can come out of this draft with Bryce Young and Will Anderson. There's a non-zero chance that happens, which is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly. And I'm curious to see if they move Brandon Cooks or Laramie Tunsil at this deadline and get more ammo.
They should. I'm of the opinion that they should absolutely move Cooks. But I'm also of the opinion that they should not move Tunsil.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
Tunsil's playing at such a good level. He's 28. He's under contract for the next 2 years. But you never know. You never know.
How high does Vegas have to pick a quarterback in this draft? They're at 9 right now.
Oh, man. Isn't Derek Carr has no guaranteed money after this year? Correct?
Yeah, I think they get flexible after this.
Yeah, so Carr, pretty much, if he was cut after this year, it would be about $5 million dead money, but you're saving almost 30.
But like, what are we talking here? Like, let's say Will Anderson's still on the board. Not Will Anderson. Sorry. Let's say Will Levis is still on the board, and Vegas is picking like 10. So you keep
Carr.
I was gonna say, so you're not like a catastrophically bad team, but you'd still, like you say, he takes. I don't want to say a slide because I think this is realistic for Will Levis to be right in the middle or maybe even the end of the first round. Does Las Vegas consider a quarterback if they are not in the top 5?
Yes.
Oh, you think?
I think so.
You think they consider it? Okay.
I try to think of Josh McDaniels over there. Look at New England, right? New England just came out of last year. Mac Jones makes the Pro Bowl. He's a top 100 player on the NFL's funny list. And I'm not saying they took Bailey Zappi.
On the top 100 of the funny list?
Funny list.
Okay, all right.
Interpret that as however you want.
That's fun. That's pretty good.
I mean, dude, they drafted Bailey Zappi with the pick 137. I'm not saying that's a crazy priority. And they did need a backup for the future. Brian Hoyer is not going to play till he's 80. But it's still, they just take quarterbacks, man. That's what they do. Josh McDaniels is going to be the same way. And it wouldn't shock me what if he falls in love with Will Levis and they're picking 14th?
Right.
Sure. Tough luck, Derek Carr. This guy's going to sit behind you and you're going to hear his name called every time you throw an interception. We don't care.
I wonder how much the Devontae Adams part of this goes into that.
That is like the ultimate, Joker card.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Because obviously you'd think that he came to the Raiders for a lot of reasons, millions of reasons, if you will. But also, I think that Carr was a big reason why.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Here's a fun exercise. Of the teams currently not picking in the top 15, give me 2 or 3 teams that are most likely to be picking in the top 15.
I like that. I'll say Washington. Oh, they are 15th.
So they are dead 15th. You coward. Just kidding.
Yeah, can't use them.
Just kidding.
Ooh, this gets pretty tricky.
I would say the Rams.
I would agree.
The Colts are 17, but they
count.
They do count. And then like Green Bay is currently picking 16. So I think the obvious answers are Green Bay and Indianapolis, but they're sitting right there at 15. I'm kind of more looking at these projected, or at least where we have it right now, the playoff teams. I don't want to say Seattle, man. My heart doesn't. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And you know what? I'm not going to do it. Okay, so Rams are one team.
EFF is projecting them to be 15th.
Seattle?
Yeah.
Hating ass.
They have the 8th hardest schedule moving forward.
Oh, damn. Rams are currently 20th. They're sitting there at 3-3. I think there's a decent chance that they're picking in the top 15. I
bet a lot of people would say the Jets. Jets are 5-2. They're picking 26th. Unreal words that just came out of my mouth. I will not. I think not the trade for James Robinson itself, but it shows you that they're not looking at their massive injuries they just suffered and saying, well, we had a good start to the season. We'll try again next year.
Wow, they're currently projected at 9.5 wins? 9.4?
Yeah. Wow. 18th hardest schedule remaining, so not an overwhelming schedule. I'm not saying they're going on a playoff run.
It's a sneaky one. It's a real sneaky one. The Chargers. I think the Chargers.
Their defense is in trouble.
Sneaky potential top 15 team. Yeah.
Just lost J.C. Jackson for a long time.
Who was not playing well. Anyway.
Not playing well at all.
Got to make that very clear.
But it could always get worse.
Oh, baby. Sure. You've watched enough Jets football, and I've watched enough Bucks football to tell the good people out there it can
always get worse.
Always.
Trust me.
Always get worse.
Whoever you're hating on Sundays when he goes down and you go, our problems are solved, guess what? Murphy's Law.
Sometimes there's a reason why they're out there. All right. Well, got anything else for the draft order?
No, I think that was a good,
you want to
what do they call it? Primer?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know.
It'll work.
Yeah.
And horse of wars.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Somebody laughed. I think it was on It's Just Football when I pronounced hors d'oeuvres as horse of wars, because that's like
so good.
When you just look at it, that's how it's said. And like people freak out about it. They're like, "Oh, what? That's not how it's pronounced. That's not how it's pronounced." And I'm like, "Yes."
It's like calling jalapenos jalapenos.
Jalapenos
gets everybody. They look at you like you're actually an idiot. And you're like, I'm not actually an idiot. I'm just trying to mess with you.
I think this is a good time to admit that to the world that my dad, who does not listen to the podcast, love him to death. He constantly refers to Chipotle as Chipotle.
Chipotle as Chipotle?
Yeah, he just calls it Chipotle.
Man, my dad's got some good ones. I got to think of this.
But I think that's a classic dad one.
Dads do that.
Yeah. What?
And they just keep moving. They don't even correct themselves or try to correct.
Unfazed.
It's a really when you get to that point in life, it's really you can commend someone for that. You don't even care.
Yeah,
you don't care at all.
My dad's had enough. My dad was a small business owner. He's had enough stress in his life of people management that he's had to deal with. That if he pronounces a restaurant the wrong way, he doesn't give a shit. He is moving on.
Oh man.
I don't know where that came from.
I have to admit something before we move on to stock up. I did Google Kyler Murray's contract extension to see if he could be traded, but
can he?
Nah.
Can you read me the numbers just for fun? Just for fun.
Yeah.
Just for fun. Just for fun.
No.
Hey, let's say Mac Jones becomes available. Just for fun. Just for fun.
Well, so his cap number next year is only 16 mil, and then 2024 goes up to 52 mil.
Ooh,
which is quite the rise. It's just that it's all that guaranteed money in bonuses so his guaranteed salary in 2024 is $35 million.
Okay.
There's just, it's not a contract that it would take a lot of different cap gymnastics and logistics and cash flow. I don't think many in Arizona are going to be there after the year, but I think whoever takes that job is inheriting.
Yeah, Kyler Murray absolutely is. Kyler Murray's not going anywhere. Even if they fully cleaned house, like if they got rid of the general manager, everybody on the front office, everybody on the coaching staff, Kyler Murray would still be there. Kyler Murray
probably gets to pick the coach.
Right. He is the lowest on the pecking order of who do we get rid of here. I think the quarterback is absolutely going to be the last guy who's out of town in Arizona, and I don't think that he's going to be out of town. Before we move on to some stock up, we're going to give you some players that we liked from over the weekend that we want you guys to have on your scouting radar. Got a question for you. What if you could have invested in Tom Brady stock as a rookie? Okay, your investment would be worth up to 4,000% higher than the money that you put in. Now it's not what if, but who's next. Mojo is the all-new sports stock market that lets you invest in your favorite athletes and cash in on your passion. You sign up right now at the Apple Store, get your first stock for free, and if you invest it the right way, could be worth up to $10,000. Over 300 players are listed on Mojo, so you can invest in rookie. Oh, the script, dude. The script is brutal. It says you can invest in rookies like Breece Hall, which...
No.
And then it says rising stars like Elijah Moore.
Oh, my... And now you're out on the street looking for SpaghettiOs. You got nothing.
But comeback candidates like Saquon Barkley, right? Or you can throw in some money in superstars like Patrick Mahomes. So if you think that they're on the up, look, I'll sub them out. Invest in stock in Tariq Woolen, because it's just going to keep going through the roof, my friends. It's just going to keep going up. And then if you want another running back who is in a similar spot, Kenneth Walker, Damian Pierce, there you go. Throw some money on the line and win some cash. Go long to make money when an underrated diamond in the rough breaks out, or you can short sell an overrated rival and make some money as well if he flops. Dude, I'm all about hate money. I'm all about it. Rooting against
it.
people to lose for financial gain. That's what I'm all about. Prices move with every play, every game, every single headline. You can buy and sell instantly anytime all year long, so the action never stops. Mojo live in New Jersey right now. So download Mojo in the Apple Store today. Start turning playmakers into money makers. Must be 21 or older to use Mojo. Located in New Jersey to make those trades. You got a gambling problem? Help is available at 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, it's time for some stock up. Where are we going? Where are we going this week, Connor? You got 3, I got 3. Who do you want to start with?
Anfernee Orji, the linebacker from Vanderbilt.
Pause.
My God, this is one of the best games from a linebacker I've seen in the last couple of years.
All right, let's hear it.
I just the Orji was everywhere, dude. You couldn't miss it. You could not miss the Orji out on the field. I mean,
thanks RG3.
It's just.
Did you see when he said that? He literally said that live on the broadcast. I think Anfernee Orji got a safety, and Robert Griffin III, who is doing the color on the broadcast, is like, "It's an orgy in the end zone."
Oh, that is unbelievable. Oh man,
he said
that's
that on
unreal.
Broadcast. It's crazy. Wow. Anyways, keep on. Go ahead.
This game was just truly insane from him. He had a sack that kind of went viral because his teammate jumped over the pass protecting running back, which was really cool. Really cool move. So he had the sack that they both kind of contributed to being a strip sack. He had 4 tackles for a loss. He had a forced fumble against the run. So he was in on the strip sack. He forced the fumble against the run. He had 4 tackles for a loss. And he had an interception. I mean, this was just... there's not games like this for anyone. It was insane. It was really insane. 6'2", 230 pounds, play speed, instincts, just wild, really wild. He's a good blitzer. He's obviously pretty adequate in coverage, but his range in the run game is what makes him such a fun player to watch. So I was insanely impressed. It was one of those games where you had on the TV, you just couldn't miss him. He was in on every single play, making big plays, taking away the football in 3 different varieties. Anfernee Orji, it was just number 0. I love that on a linebacker. Really. It's such a great aesthetic.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I was blown away. He was somebody that right away I was like, man, I gotta go watch the rest of the tape of this guy because this is just an unreal performance.
So my fiance Alyssa was doing the sideline for Vanderbilt Ole Miss a couple of weeks ago, and I actually got to go.
You were there, right?
Yeah. I actually got to go watch that game in person, and he's clearly their best defense player. Clearly.
Yep.
I mean, I get it. People who are listening to this are going to be like, yo, it's Vanderbilt. But Anfernee Orji is actually legit. Like, he was the best player on the defensive side. No doubt about it. They also have a guy who we shouted out, I think it was that week, on the offensive side of the football, Jaden McGowan, the freshman wide receiver. But those two clearly standing out as the best 2 players on the team. Shout out to Will Shepard, though. He is also good. He's going to be a draft eligible guy as well. So I got to get eyes on him, man. I got to look at him under a microscope, and I definitely got to get to him because of
senior.
That. And you love to see that. He's going to be in the circuit.
All-star circuit.
I was going to say.
All right, Trevor, who you got?
Think he's a Senior Bowl guy? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'll stick in the
first round of invites.
Okay. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
First round, just like making
pump the brakes. He's not a first round player yet.
Making that the headline of the YouTube video, and it's just like
it's an orgy in the first round.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Moving on. I'll stick in the SEC. I'm going to go with MarShawn Lloyd, the running back from South Carolina, who had a really good week this past week as South Carolina took down Texas A&M for the first time in school history, I believe, that they
defeated
Texas A&M. Yeah.
I didn't know it was the first time ever.
Yeah. So A&M came to the SEC in 2014. Was it 14? Because they weren't always in the SEC, and I think it was maybe it was a little bit before. Was it 14?
You're around the.
I think it was something like that.
Close.
13, 14, whatever. And they're in the SEC West. The Gamecocks are in the SEC East, so they don't play every year guaranteed. But yeah, they've never beaten Texas A&M, and they were able to get off the schneid this past weekend, which was great. MarShawn Lloyd, though, their running back, they leaned on him, and he absolutely delivered. 5'9", 212 pounds. He's a redshirt sophomore this year. Was supposed to get some serious playing time in his freshman season, but he tore his ACL on the second day of camp in his true freshman season. How bad does that suck, man? You go through that whole recruiting cycle. You make the stressful decision of making a final spot. You go to a school that you love. You get in camp. You can't wait to really get after it, and you tear your ACL on day 2. Like that just reading that sucks.
Stinks.
So I hated reading that, but fast forward, and he's putting himself in a great spot. This past weekend had 18 carries, 92 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 88 yards after contact. He only had 4 yards that didn't come before some contact. Really liked what I saw from this rusher. He's going to have some fan favorites, I think, as a mid-round back. He draft eligible this year. I'm not so sure he declares, right? Because it's not like he's blowing the doors off with stats, but there are some traits to really like. First of all, he's very light on his feet. There are a handful of plays against A&M where defender was able to penetrate on the interior, so beating either the guard or the center, and they were able to get close to him, and they were going for a tackle, so they were going kind of low on him, and he was able to just jump right over him, sidestep him, whatever he was able to do to avoid that in the backfield and take what could have been a negative play, turn it into a positive, normally getting yards after the line of scrimmage as well. And that's because of footwork. And you see that as well when he's kind of dancing behind the line of scrimmage, when he's running behind pullers. Certainly when he is a mid-zone, inside zone runner as well. Another scheme that I really like from him because of his footwork. He's just light on his feet. And because of that, he has a lot of good elusiveness, especially we saw that on Saturday. Uses his shoulders to set up defenders for a little stutter step, a move that he consistently goes to, whether it's behind the line of scrimmage or in space outside of it. I'll say this, man. He's got a little Kenneth Walker to him. He really does. I watched Kenneth Walker last year plenty, not just for the draft, but I also was doing a feature story on him when he was at Michigan State. And the first thing I noticed is like, okay, this guy bounces out to the outside a little bit too much, but he's so good at it. Like, he's so light on his feet that when you get initial penetration on him, he will bounce right by the initial penetration, and then he will go to where the open space is. He'll go to the outside. He'll get towards the sideline, and he'll normally be able to overpower defensive backs that are out there or outrun linebackers that are trying to chase him to the sideline. And I saw a handful of those similar plays in MarShawn Lloyd's game this past week against Texas A&M. So he's got a knack for getting skinny in between blocking concepts, especially when it comes to zone. You know, when those creases, those cutback lanes are real tight, he's able to somehow get that 210, 215 pound frame right through it. So I love how he gets skinny, if you will, a scouting term that I learned a long, long time ago. All in all, I'm not so sure that MarShawn Lloyd is going to declare because it's his first year really getting carries after coming back from that ACL surgery. So I think he's probably a guy who's destined for the 2024 class. But if he comes out this year, there are traits that I like that I think can definitely succeed in the NFL.
It's a great shout. I mean, he was the 5th best running back in the country in his recruiting class, so there are huge expectations for this guy who's right, he's healthy, and what it sounded like you were talking about, Trevor, is that he's looking like the guy that school expected him to be, and it's just a matter of, you know, how hot does he get this year? With running backs, you never rule it out. You never rule it out that it's like, hey, you've shown enough for scouts to keep those legs fresh and get to the NFL, or really get comfortable, have a monster year in 2023 because he's only a redshirt sophomore, like you said. So MarShawn Lloyd, definitely somebody I'm excited to keep watching as well. All right, one for me that I thought he'd be in the NFL already, to be honest with you at this point, but I was really impressed with what I saw this weekend. Zach Harrison on Ohio State, the big defensive end.
Wasn't his grade insane?
Insane. He had a day pass rushing. He had 8 pass rush snaps, and he only 8 against Iowa.
Okay.
And he had a 96.5 grade. That is territory that's just...
Man's getting after it.
It's not seen very often. He had a sack, 2 more quarterback hits, 2 more quarterback hurries, so essentially, and an unblocked pressure. So he got home on 6 of his 8 reps. That's like...
That'll do.
You're against a traffic cone at that point is what it looks like. And
that's Iowa, too.
It's Iowa.
It's O-line U.
What I really liked with Harrison, I had big expectations from going into 2021, and I think he showed power at times, but really just we know how well that school coaches up D-line, and he didn't look like a guy that had a wide array in the toolbox while he had all the physical gifts. And what I saw against Iowa was winning in a variety of ways that can make him a scary player. There was a quarterback hit that he got off the ball really fast, 2-hand swipe, beats that soft shoulder to the outside and kills the quarterback and almost forced him to throw an interception. It was a batted pass. The strip sack, he was so twitchy setting up the inside move that he got the tackle to overset wide. He shot through that gap and really ran the hoop to chase the quarterback, as we see at the combine drill, ran that hoop and got the strip sack. I mean, this is a dude that he's a 6'6", 275-pound defensive end. He's a big huge guy. And at times, what I saw last year is, I'm like, man, he moves a little slower than you'd like, but he's big, so that's what you get. Mm-hmm. He was moving in this game where I'm like, man, he's starting to figure it out as a rusher, where he might never develop into that guy that a lot of people saw as a recruit or underclassman and said, like, he's going to be a top 15 pick one day, but he's figuring it out as a rusher while being such a strong, powerful, edge-setting run defender. I was very, very impressed and very happy to see him take these kinds of strides.
Yeah, that was the main question for me after seeing him a little bit when we were going through summer scouting is, okay, I know what I'm getting from this player, both from a physical standpoint and a power standpoint. Like, this is a guy who you could put his hand in the dirt. He could be a 4-3 defensive end for you. You can kick him inside a little bit because he's got the length, he's got the size, he won't be overwhelmed too much. So you've got that versatility there. But does he have the juice? And I didn't see a ton of juice from him consistently last year. I'd love to go back to this game because you even mentioning him getting close to a position where he's running the hoops, that tells me that, okay, you're coming around the corner with some speed. You've worked on your ankle flexibility as much as you possibly can, and that's stuff that will potentially unlock Zach Harrison to be a top 50 pick when it comes to April. So gotta watch him. Love
him. It was just really good to see because it's always been there, and you're like, okay, you're going to be in some big games this year for that program. And you're obviously going to have the spotlight in that chance. And he looked, I know Iowa has not had the year that we expect from Iowa, but he looked good. Looked real good.
Love it. Have you talked about Parker Washington yet, the wide receiver from Penn State?
I have not.
I don't think we have.
So no, we haven't.
There's a handful of people that have tweeted at us, messaged us what our thoughts are. We get
a lot of Penn State requests, by the way. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm just saying that's the school we get the most requests from on a weekly basis.
I think you're right. But, dude, athletes at Penn State, they know how to recruit athletes, and so that immediately translates into potential draft guys. So as a freshman, had 489 yards receiving, 6 touchdowns. As a sophomore last year, he upped that to 820 yards, had 4 touchdowns. This year, he's not lighting the world on fire, and I think that's why people aren't paying as much attention to him as they potentially could. But should they? I'll argue that. I would argue that. He stands at 5'10", 212 pounds. He's a slot receiver, as you would expect, redshirt sophomore. As a redshirt freshman, he actually had 7 starts and was second on the team with those 64 catches, 820 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So they were leaning on him constantly. Going to be honest with you, Connor. Quarterback play at Penn State, not great.
Suboptimal.
It is suboptimal is a good way to explain it, good way to encapsulate it. But Parker Washington definitely shows out in a variety of different ways, man. I think that he is a really good high-end straight kind of a slot wide receiver. Now, I don't think he's blazing fast, but I know he's got a track background. I know he ran track in high school, and you could see that when it comes to that acceleration. You know how you watch Jamar Chase, and it's almost like this smooth acceleration to where you're almost fooled into thinking he's not athletic, but then all of a sudden he's just running past all of the defensive backs that are on the field. That's kind of how I feel with Parker Washington. He's such a smooth speed, smooth buildup that you watch guys who play in the slot, and if they're not these freakishly quick twitch players, you say to yourself, oh, there's other athletes that I'd rather have at the slot position. Be careful of being fooled with that when it comes to especially Parker Washington, because he is a guy who a lot of his production is schemed up. It's mesh concepts. It's drag routes over the middle. They're trying to just get him moving horizontal across the line of scrimmage, easy dump off pass to him. He can get a lot of yards after the catch. But when they ask him to run routes, man, he sinks those hips, those feet chop, and he can break. He creates separation on his breaks, but kind of my favorite part about him is he's 5'10". He can go up and catch the ball away from his frame as if he is 6'2", 6'3". This past week against Minnesota, he had an incredible body spinning, sky floating catch for a touchdown straight over a defender where he just absolutely mossed the dude. And you go, I'm sorry, he's 5'10"? That's not even the part of his game that he boasts. Love how good of a natural hands catcher he is. Love what he can do after the catch when he immediately becomes a playmaker. He's got to be averaging a ton of missed tackles forced on the season because I saw them with my own eyes on tape. But this is a guy, man, when you look at potential slot receivers in this class and you kind of formulate who do I like the most, he feels like my cup of tea. He feels like a guy who, yes, he's got the slot skill set and the slot size, but he can even give you a little bit more than that. Those are the kind of players that I gravitate towards. So I really do like Parker Washington. I think that there's a chance that he could be a top 50 guy for real.
Love to hear that. And somebody that has been productive right away, which is so rare at the wide receiver position in college. Like you said, I mean, he was productive as a freshman on that team. And he's got a thick build, man. 5'10", 212.
Yeah.
I mean, he's built like a running back more than a slot receiver. It reminds me of Amari Rodgers was built like that, who the Packers drafted as a slot for them. He had that thick slot build. So
you just got to hang on to the football.
Just got to hang on to the football. All right, my last one here, brief mention, because kind of like you said, earlier in the show, is that you don't always expect these guys to declare when they're in that redshirt sophomore category. And Frank Gore Jr. is somebody who is a redshirt sophomore, not playing for a big program, Southern Miss. Man, he looks good. This is the first time I watched Frank Gore Jr. He's 5'9", about 200 pounds, and he's forcing a ton of missed tackles. He forced 8 missed tackles on the ground as a runner, and he forced another 2 missed tackles on his only reception, which was a 21-yard catch in this game, really just a check down where it looked like he honestly made 3 guys miss on the play. He's very, very elusive, Trevor. Really good feet, stop and start. He can run through contact like his dad did, but, I mean, he had 96 rushing yards, and 77 of them were after contact. I think he's been quietly one of the better yards after contact running backs in the country this year. The blocking is not great with this program, and he's making guys miss right at the line of scrimmage. They run a wildcat package with him pretty consistently. That's how much they want the ball in his hands. I mean, there was multiple. He had 20 attempts. There were multiple wildcat attempts with Gore as well. So maybe a guy that we're a year early on here, but Frank Gore Jr. is going to be playing in the NFL just like his dad.
Oh, I was going to say off name alone. Name alone, he's going to be playing.
Wasn't
in
a
the
big
NFL.
Recruit, though.
That's true.
Obviously.
That is true.
I mean, ended up at Southern Miss. No offense, Southern Miss.
I was going to say, if he was a big recruit, we got to think he would have been in Miami, right? Probably would have been in Miami.
Just on legacy alone.
Right. So it was when I first learned of Frank Gore Jr., outside of me being like, damn, I'm old. My next immediate thought was, hey, like, well, how did he end up at Southern Miss? So, maybe we'll be able to, maybe our people over at PFF, we can get a little sit down with him, ask him all about it, ask him what it was like living in the, maybe living in the dad's shadow and kind of
be cool.
Paving his own way. That'd be awesome. I'd love to learn his story.
Yeah, and really did, right? You see so many recruits or children of famous players that go on to be huge recruits, and they're covered maybe a little differently than the average player because it's tougher for them, the expectations. But Frank Gore Jr., I mean, obviously a good high school player, but goes to Southern Miss, wasn't a big recruit, and now he looks like a really, really good player that's going to find his way into the NFL. So which doesn't surprise anybody when you look at the bloodlines at all. So
you ready for this last one, Connor?
Yeah, I am. What do you got to close out the show?
Let's go, baby. It's Bo Nix time.
No, he didn't.
We threw on the tape. He's out. He's out. For those of you who are only listening.
Bo Nix?
Listen to me, man.
I get it.
Top 10 matchup this past weekend. Oregon versus UCLA. My man, Bo Nix. I never wavered. Never. 22 for 28. 283 yards. 5 touchdowns. 0 picks. Okay. All right. Let's bring you up to speed here. Obviously, a lot of people know of Bo Nix. 6'2", 215 pounds. The senior transferred from Auburn's because he wasn't very good. He wasn't very good in the SEC. He had
You never wavered though.
He had one. No, I never wavered. He had one good first quarter against Oregon, his true freshman season, that he made like 2 or 3 throws, and then all of a sudden everyone just like couldn't stop talking about Bo Nix.
It was mayhem.
Even though
it was fun for a week.
Right, but then I think the next 2 years we had a lot more tape on him, and he just never was able to take that step forward. Obviously, you go into this year as well. Oregon plays Georgia right off the bat. Nix does not look good. That game was, again, bad, and people were like, all right, well, not much has changed for Bo Nix. Look, it's one game against UCLA. Without question, Bo Nix's best game. Without question. And I'm even going beyond the stats because, yeah, he threw 5 touchdowns, but he really only had about 1 or 2 big-time throws. There were a couple of turnover-worthy plays. We didn't knock him for any. We have a 0 for turnover-worthy plays, but I watched all 30 of his dropbacks this past game, and there were 1 and 2 that you could have considered turnover-worthy plays, I think. This past game read the defense incredibly well. I've never seen him play with more confidence, truly. He was reading defense in the pre-snap. He was adjusting where guys were going at the line of scrimmage. He knew exactly where his guys were going to be playing and where the open space was coming from. That ball was coming out of his hands exactly when it needed to. It was coming out fast, and it was coming out accurately. There were 2 back shoulder throws in particular where I went, excuse me? Like those were legitimate NFL throws that he made on those 2 back shoulder balls, which are beautiful to see. He also hit a couple of running backs on some wheel routes fantastically, right in stride for them to get great yards after the catch. Showed off the arm with both distance and velocity, but the velocity is what stood out so much to me because of how confident he was in this past game. It's one game. I get it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Bo Nix is now a first rounder and that I never wavered and that I always believed, although I never wavered and I always believed. But it was cool to see this kind of a game from him because for as much as the tape really hasn't matched the hype for him in most of his college career, there is a reason why a lot of people couldn't quit talking about him. And that is because he is a decently mobile quarterback with a damn good arm. And I think that we saw that this past week with Oregon really putting it on UCLA. This was the best I've ever seen Bo Nix look. Will it be the catalyst for this to be the standard for him moving forward? Who knows? But in the moment, I wanted to bring him up because it was a big name. There's a reason we haven't talked about him to this point. But I got to give the hats off. Great performance for him. I think it was the best of his career.
No, and well done by you. I mean, it's true. He had an awesome weekend. And, I mean, the reality is that Bo Nix is going to be a part of the draft process. This just happens every year, right? With these guys that have a chance to go to the All-Star games. It might not be the Senior Bowl, right? It might be the Shrine Game. It might be there's a lot out there. NFLPA Bowl. Guys get drafted.
The NFL Stock Exchange Bowl, which you and I are starting.
That would actually be amazing. If you and I... What would we call our teams? We wouldn't do East or West or North or South.
Oh, what's an inside joke on the pod?
Yeah, I was going to say.
It's got to be some sort of inside joke. Somebody's...
I'll keep talking while you look this up.
No, I can't look it up. There has to be like a mailbag episode where you and I have been on opposite ends of a pop culture trend.
Phenomenon?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
That we could have done here. But maybe the listeners remember better than we do.
Bo Nix is one of the more fascinating people to Google. He's from a place, because I was looking for his stats for this year, and his Wikipedia comes up on the sidebar. He's from Arkadelphia, Arkansas. Doesn't Arkadelphia sound like if there was just Philadelphia and Arkansas?
I mean, as if Arkansas couldn't be original enough. They just are Kansas, you know? Now they're taking Philadelphia.
I didn't even think of that.
Right. I'm kidding people from Arkansas.
Yeah, we're gonna get some hate mail.
I actually love the Arkansas football program. Love Sam Pittman. Y'all are great, and I've honestly been to Fayetteville. It's a wonderful place. So
surprisingly, I have too. You've been to Fayetteville? Nice place. I have been to Fayetteville. Everybody's very nice.
It is a cool little college town when you kind of get into town, and I remember we were staying at a hotel that was close to campus, and I went on a little run for a workout around campus, and it's just beautiful, gorgeous.
It is very nice.
Laid out very well. Big shout out to Fayetteville, Arkansas. Big shout out.
I drove.
Wish the airport was a little closer, but
that was the issue,
right? It's like an hour and 30-minute away from the airport.
Yeah, I was driving all over the place and drove through Fayetteville and hung out in Fayetteville. on the way to the airport, but I had like a full day to kill, and my flight actually got canceled that night because of thunderstorm, so I spent even more time. I've had some weird adventures in this country, man. I can't even begin to tell you, and I won't spend the rest of the pod doing so.
Well, next mailbag, somebody needs to ask Connor, what are your top 3 weirdest travel adventures?
Oh my God, I've been to some weird places.
See, now you got me hyped up for it.
Fayetteville's not one of them. Fayetteville's not a weird place. Fayetteville was very normal amongst the list. Man, loaded show today.
Indeed.
Bo Nix made his way onto the show. Shout out to Bo Nix.
Shout out to Bo Nix. You know, that's all I got. From Arkadelphia, Arkansas. God, what an unbelievable.
I would say we'll promo tomorrow's show, but I have no idea what we're doing. We'll figure out something fun.
Yeah, I won't lie to you, good people. We don't know what we're doing yet. But the beauty of the Thursday shows is that we have the flexibility to be able to do whatever we want. I think we've come up with some good topics. You guys have as well. And as always, we love to hear from you. It's not just don't think of this as, oh, I gotta listen for the end of the episode, and if it like asks me for ideas, like then I'll tweet them out ideas. If you've got a format for the show, we'd love to hear from you. At Tampa Bay Trey on Twitter, at Connor J. Rogers on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram as well. If that is your medium of conversation and connecting, you can definitely do that too. We'd always love to hear if you're like, hey, I had this idea for the pod. I think it's really cool if you guys like drafted this, or, ooh, dude, we haven't done a good old fashioned head-to-head draft in a while.
We haven't.
Maybe we could do that. Something draft related?
Draft something. We'll come up with something. We have time.
What are your top Bo Nix games?
Your favorite 5 Bo Nix games draft against each other.
I get the first pick. I'm going to pick this past game. Okay, thanks for watching.
And I'll take his first ever game. And then good luck from there. UDFA grades. Sorry.
Shout out to Bo Nix from Arkadelphia. So, all right. Yeah, we're going to, no matter what it is on Thursday, we're going to have a good time. Maybe it'll be draft related. But honestly, if you guys ever have ideas for the show, hit us up. We're always looking to try to facilitate some really great ideas and give you guys exactly what you want to hear. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Connor Rogers. We will see you guys on Thursday for another edition of the NFL Stock Exchange Podcast. We'll see you guys then.